Your most hated dating app did not exist about 200 years ago, but a woman named Susan B. Anthony, who's both problematic and iconic, did. And she predicted what would be your greatest dating struggle. Now, she could not have foreseen that it would have played out as an example so perfectly in season 8 of Love is Blind. In the history of dating, of course, there have been many scams pulled over women. And since we've already spent enough time watching the disaster of the Minnesota cast unfold in front of us on our TVs, we might as well learn something about this rising trend of conservative men going undercover to date liberal and progressive women. Why are they doing that? What does that say about our time? What does it say about the moment politically? Are we simply missing a polite request for tolerance in a divided age? Or are we avoiding something that is really not good for us in our relationships? Very specific corners of the internet, of course, are asking that question, but in particular right now, they're coming after Virginia and Sarah in this show. And I would like this video to mostly focus on the defense of keeping that kind of intolerance when you're dating. Not being rude, being circumspect. I know, we all thought that the worst guy on this show was going to be Dave and his enmeshed sister. Turns out Dave was the only person in the reunion and in the finale who could own his shortcomings and at least recognize the error of his ways. So how do we find ourselves with Devin and Ben, who initially were season favorites, ending up coming away looking scorched and silly? Here's where some spoilers come in, so pause if you haven't seen it. But you're not missing anything, so you might as well just watch the video and learn something. So Devin is dating the intelligent and fabulous Virginia, and Ben is dating the intelligent and fabulous Sarah. These guys are all lovebirds. They're totally making it to the end. There's 2 weddings. We get to the altar. All of these lovebirds had something in common in their relationships, in that they were physically attracted to each other. They genuinely liked each other as people. There was a real love that all parties expressed that they had for the other, and they enjoyed time together. But the men also had something in common. Both were very willing to downplay and delay any serious, meaningful conversations about their beliefs and their politics. But the kicker, they were not willing to meaningfully interrogate the consequences of those beliefs and the politics that come out of them. Back in her day, Susan B. Anthony looked around at the world and said, wow, the women in this world cannot even dictate the circumstances under which their lives occur. They existed at the whims of the whitest, richest people in America, right? Because those are the only people that could vote before the 15th Amendment passed. Before the ratification of the 15th Amendment, if you were a poor white guy, you didn't own land, you were enslaved, you were a woman, you had no say in the laws and legislation that made up the world you lived in. Whatever happened to you was the decisions of other men. Then a civil war happens, and after that there are 3 additional amendments that are ratified, and the last one was the 15th. And the 15th said that no man, on the basis of their former servitude, their class, or who they were, their race, could be prevented by the federal government from participating in democracy. And guess what? Susan B. Anthony didn't even live to see the 19th Amendment pass in the 1920s, which again only allowed people like Sarah, the white girlies, to vote. But before she died, Susan B. Anthony made sure to say that failure was impossible, and also that a world was coming in which her daughters, our daughters, would be prepared and ready to lead, to live, to have liberty. But the men, our sons, our brothers, would not exactly be prepared to reckon and live in that world. And there would be an issue in terms of how they could become partners or be wives and in relationship with each other because of that political expectation and mismatch of entitlement. And what do you know? What do we see across credible polling all over the US? The young men are taking a rightward shift in a way that typically you don't see till they get much older. And the women are taking a leftward shift. And in fact, increasing their political involvement and their understanding and their articulation of how politics affects their lives. There is a time when something like this kind of discussion on a reality TV show would not happen. But what do we have? Virginia's mom is a Democratic representative in Minnesota. Virginia comes from a Christian and Muslim family that is very diverse and is very articulate about their understanding of what politics serve them as Black people. Virginia and Sarah are aware that their families and their loved ones' ability to have bodily autonomy, to participate in the democracy freely, and to just live without being harassed require a very specific type of policy to prevail. That their community safety depends on them protecting themselves from the policies that are the consequences of the beliefs that Ben and Devin hold. Devin and Ben, in Claire Fallon's words, always play dead when it comes to talking about politics. They have these stock phrases about loving everyone and just coming together across differences. But what they fail to understand is that how do you love somebody properly or meaningfully when what you do and who you vote for and how you live endangers that person? What if they die of sepsis because of your policies? What if they can't vote anymore because of your policies? What if they are no longer living in a fair and free democracy because of the party you support? Love is about meaningfully dealing with the reality our partners are living in and finding ways to challenge our beliefs that hurt those people. Virginia and Sarah said multiple times if they didn't bring up politics or they didn't bring up their values, the men never would. We can't even find out what Devin actually thought, right? Because Virginia made it clear he didn't even want to be talking about this on camera. These were off-screen conversations that he refused to be held accountable for or to be seen in. In his defense, I can understand people saying, well, maybe he didn't want a certain edit. But how bad does it have to be if you're like, there's no edit in which I'm coming across looking like a decent person here? Men know the cost, the social cost of their beliefs. They know what shrinks their dating pool. And they know that there are women, more and more women, that are becoming aware of the fact that they don't want to be with partners who vote for policies that endanger them. But many men see these same women as socially valuable, as relationally bringing something great to their lives. So they lay low and they downplay their actual affiliation. They know there are women out there that want to be chosen and want to be treated well, and they are willing, in a way that doesn't politically cost them, to give that to one person while maintaining beliefs that continue to hurt lots of other women. And they think, this is a trade-off I can afford. So when both Virginia and Sarah go, you know what? I don't see myself in this future where I'm carrying the mental, intellectual, emotional, and political load of either educating you, challenging you, or forcing you to care. So you know what? Goodbye. That's not intolerance. That is letting somebody believe what they believe and create the world they want to create, but deciding you're not going down with them and you're not going to be part of the long convincing, not only of your humanity outside the home, but inside the home and inside your marriage as well. That sounds exhausting. I posed a lot of questions at the beginning of this video that I think are great to answer in another video. And if you want to hear me talk policy with the experts, you can listen to my show, Apathy is Not an Option. It's produced with the SPLC and PRX. Stay safe out there. I will see you soon. And thank God this season's over.